But first, they say that a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. A fool learns from his own mistakes or her own mistakes. Let us all take a moment and understand the fact that listening to nameless, faceless idiots on the internet and taking their advice on certain things tends to not be the greatest idea in the world. Morgan Freeman has a great saying. The Academy Award-winning, all-time great actor Morgan Freeman has one of my top 5 phrases and sayings and quotes of all time. Don't take criticism from the same people you wouldn't take advice from. Again, Joe2703 on Twitter, who has 5 followers, probably not the greatest person to take advice from. That's what Kevin Durant did 5 years ago. Many folks to this day, today even, criticize Kevin Durant. You left Russell Westbrook high and dry in Oklahoma City after blowing a 3-1 lead to the, at the time, defending champion 73-win Golden State Warriors, and you hopped on the bandwagon. That was the worst thing Kevin Durant ever did. No, not even close. Kevin Durant at that point had 4 scoring titles and an MVP, had never won a championship. Had come close, got to the 2012 finals, got to the 14 and 16 Western Conference finals, but came up short. And he looked around, he said, you know what? Russell's great, but playing with Steph, playing in that system in Golden State, pretty good. Kevin Durant, at the end of the day, people criticize him for this, but we don't do this in other businesses. He joined an operation. He joined an organization that gave him the greatest opportunity to be successful. That's what any person in their right mind would do if offered the opportunity in any field of work, the NBA included. Worst thing Kevin Durant did was not join the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. It was leave the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. The Phoenix Suns got swept yesterday against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Talk about Anthony Edwards in a few minutes because he deserves some time and some shine. No question about that. But KD is the face of this. I've said since last offseason, the Phoenix Suns screwed themselves over, boxed themselves in, if you will, from the day that they traded Chris Paul for Bradley Beal. Chris Paul's washed. Chris Paul, that would have been nice to have him in this series, wouldn't it? Not saying they'd have won, but would have been nice to have Chris Paul, a guy who's a true bona fide point guard, doesn't turn the basketball over, gets everybody in and out of their sets. Kevin Durant now doesn't have to play the 4. He gets to stay in his natural position as the 3, as the small forward. You trade for Bradley Beal. You, rather than moving on from DeAndre Ayton or Monty Williams, you move on from both of them, which was dumb. Ayton was an impactful player. Monty was an impactful coach. They couldn't coexist anymore. Fine, then get rid of one of them. Don't get rid of both of them. It hurt them in this run. And by the way, replacing DeAndre Ayton with one of the softest 7-footers in the NBA, his name's Yusuf Nurkic, and he has no resumes to speak of in the NBA postseason. And they never at any point added a point guard. They asked Devin Booker, as true of a 2-guard as there is. You'd play point guard, Devin. And his assist numbers were pretty good. But if you watch the games, actually watch the tape for the Phoenix Suns, they were a really clunky offense all season, which is in large part why they were the worst fourth-quarter team in the NBA this season in 2023 through 2024. But as far as Kevin Durant, we knew that the Steph, KD, it's like kind of like the Tom Brady Belichick thing, except in this case, Steph had won before KD got there. Who deserves more credit for those back-to-back titles in 17 and 18 for my Golden State Warriors? Was it Steph Curry? Was it Kevin Durant? Well, I think the debate is dead. If you want to look at Steph's career in totality, in terms of his playoff career, in terms of his success, you want to look at KD's playoff career in its totality, in terms of his success, absent one another, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, and with each other, Steph and KD, and formed, in my opinion, the 17 Warriors were far and away with the 0-1 Lakers could have beaten them. 83 Sixers, probably not. 86 Celtics, no. 96 Bulls, no. Golden State Warriors 2017, greatest team ever assembled. Steph and KD, when they were together, pretty great. That stat says 33-3. It should say 33-9. Won about 78% of their games. Won 2 championships. KD without Steph in Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, Phoenix, 8 games over 500. No titles in the postseason. Steph without KD, 66-39. He has 2 NBA titles. But since the breakup, which KD obviously initiated, Think about this. What has Kevin Durant been without Steph? We can show you right here. His numbers they're not good. They're excellent. 38-5 on basically 49, 37, 88 shooting splits. Those are tremendous numbers. But then you look down. He's 5 games under 500 in the postseason, 13-18. He's won 1 in the last 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Wayne Durant has won 1 playoff series, and he has been swept out of the first round twice. He's never appeared in the conference finals, and he's never won an elimination game in the National Basketball Association since leaving Steph Curry. Steph, since leaving KD, for the record, has missed the playoffs 3 times. Now, one of those seasons I don't really count because Steph only played 5 games. Nonetheless, 3 playoff, non-appearances, and this is what Steph has done since KD left him high and dry. Averaged 28, 5-5 on 46, 38, 83 shooting splits, but more importantly, he's 22-13 in the playoffs. He's won 5 playoff series to KD's 1. He's won a Western Conference Finals MVP. He's won an NBA title. He's won a Finals MVP. And oh, by the way, just as a little cherry on top, he recorded the very first 50-point Game 7 in NBA history. Kevin Durant was bullied by dopes on the internet who said, oh, those titles in Golden State, they don't count on your resume. Folks, when we look back, hey, let's just use an example. Michael Jordan, 6 for 6 in the NBA Finals. You want to know how his first title came? And this isn't just a credit from MJ. All rings are rings, man. But that Bulls teams, Michael, Scotty, Horace Grant, the whole crew, Phil Jackson as head coach. They played the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1991 NBA Finals. Prime Magic Johnson, pre-HIV diagnosis, obviously. Kareem had retired. James Worthy got hurt in the series, barely played. So essentially the big 3 that made up the Lakers dynasty in the 80s, Magic, Kareem, Worthy, one had already retired and one barely played in the series. It was basically Magic and a bunch of guys against the Jordan Bulls. We don't remember that. It's probably the first time you've heard that ever, if not since the 90s, that I just told you that. We look at it as Michael's first championship. We look at that as the infamous photo of Michael Jordan in the locker room, champagne flying everywhere. He's hugging the Larry O'Brien trophy, crying like it's holding a child, and his father, his deceased father, obviously over his shoulder, smiling with him. We don't think about the fact the Lakers were beat up in that series. Folks, 30 years down the road, nobody's going to think about the fact that Kevin Durant did join a 73-9 team after blowing a 3-1 lead in Oklahoma City. I'm sorry, we will not think about that. We will think about the fact that he won 2 finals MVPs. Personally, I thought Steph should have gotten 2018. That's beside the point. But all throughout that 2018-19 season, I did not have a podcast at the time. I actually started the show 4 months after that season ended, after those finals were over. Kind of wish I'd had a podcast at that point because it would have been really interesting as a Warriors fan to kind of document that interesting season throughout. All season long, KD's skipping media availability. KD is, there's a report that he went weeks without speaking to teammates. The Draymond thing, I get because Draymond literally called him the B word multiple times. That's crossing the line, and I love Draymond. But Kevin Durant's hearing, well, Steph won before you. Huh. You will never be as beloved in Golden State as Steph Curry. You could win 5 championships in a row, and Steph Curry will still be more beloved than you. Just like Dwayne Wade will always be more beloved than LeBron James in Miami. You know why? Because D. Wade basically grew up in Miami. Steph basically grew up in the Bay Area. LeBron didn't. KD didn't. Nothing wrong with that. Fans still love him. But Steph holds a special place in Warriors fans' hearts like myself. But Dwayne Wade holds a special place in the hearts of Miami Heat fans. Kevin Durant, we know, is very active on social media. He had the burners. Then he, and I props to him for this, ditched the burners, at least as far as we know, and just start answering people on the internet from his own account. At least he's doing it from his own account and not being a little cowardly and hiding behind fake accounts. But Kevin Durant has rabbit ears. Kevin Durant heard what was said about him in the national media and really on social media and caved to peer pressure. Caved to people who, let's be real, don't exactly have Kevin Durant's best interest at heart. I don't think KD's going to consult them on business decisions as it pertains to Nike or 35 Ventures, his production company, or his contract negotiations. He listened to the internet. And this is what the result is. Kevin Durant, I showed you the numbers right there. He's averaging like 30 points, 8 rebounds, and like 5 assists in the playoffs since leaving Steph. Those are out and very efficient shooting splits. Outstanding. But last 10 playoff games, KD is 2-8, and 7 of those 8 losses are by double digits. He's still an all-time great player and an all-time great scorer. But when you're in the most, Kevin Durant, no matter where else he went, he was never going to get a better head coach than Steve Kerr unless he went to the Miami Heat with Eric Spoelstra. He was never going to get a better general manager than Bob Myers anywhere. Bob Myers was the single best general manager in the NBA when he was with the Warriors. He was never going to get a more unselfish teammate, probably in NBA history, among superstars than Steph Curry. He's never going to get a more unselfish number 3 star in Klay Thompson. And he was never going to get an offensive and defensive catalyst. While they might have had their battles, he was never going to get somebody who filled the voids that the Warriors had, the way Draymond Green did. And Kevin Durant was never going to get that elsewhere. He joined Brooklyn, coached by Steve Nash, run by Sean Marks, and his co-star was Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie was awesome yesterday and has really fit in well with Dallas because it's a ready-made organization. There's no faults in that. There's a select few guys in the history of the NBA that could take crap franchises and turn them into something special. MJ, LeBron, Steph, Giannis. It's very, very short list. Jokic. But the Golden State Warriors, as we knew them in the mid to late 2010s, if Kevin Durant stays there, we're having very different conversations about him. We're having very different conversations, I think, potentially about Steph, because Steph would probably have more championships at that point. And ain't no probably. He would have more championships at that point. Instead, we look at Steph almost as in a higher light because, hey, you won before KD, you won with KD, and you won without KD, or after KD. And for the record, that title in 2022, seeing the state of my Warriors, that's looking better on Steph's resume by the day that he won a title with that group in 2022. Kevin Durant went to dysfunctional Brooklyn, and then went to, not by his, he requested a trade, obviously ended up going to the Phoenix Suns with an impulsive owner who does not know what he's doing as it pertains to constructing an NBA-ready roster. Let this be a lesson to anybody out there. If you're getting hate on social media or people are pushing back and you're not this, you're not that, you will almost always make the wrong decision. Again, one more time, to quote the great Morgan Freeman, don't ever take criticism from the same people you wouldn't take advice from. Kevin Durant did, and you see the result. 5 years, no conference finals, hasn't even sniffed an NBA finals, and 2 first-round sweeps. That's what happens when you leave the best basketball organization in the NBA, with the exception of the Miami Heat. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.